Our business leaders, regulators and government officials all gathered in Kigali, Rwanda last week at the Africa CEO Forum to unpack some of the challenges hindering growth in the continent. Business Day TV's Ndawling Lechela was in attendance and caught up with MTN's Group CEO Ralph Mupita on the sidelines. He kicked off the conversation with his vision for Africa moving forward.
The topic of discussion really was, is Africa on the table or on the menu? And, we discussed and dissected 5 topics. One is the geopolitics and where Africa fits in the context of the geopolitics. The second was actually to look at the transformative power of generative AI, which has been a phenomena the last 2 years or so. The third area was the green economy, the green and renewables, and how much progress was going there. Fourth area was really around global debt, and the fifth area was Gen Alpha, the young people who were born, since 2010, not you and I, and certainly what the future holds for them. So the discussion was framed within those 5 key topics.
All right, I want us to just take a step back and look at MTN as a group, as an entity that operates in Africa. You've penetrated that market very, very well. But I mean, we can't lie and say there aren't any challenges. Walk us through those challenges, particularly in Nigeria, where those currency woes are weighing on the bottom line.
Look, I mean, the first thing is we are a business that's focused on delivering digital adoption and financial inclusion across Africa. So this is our home, so we understand it very well. And we understand that from time to time you have challenges, but as I look at across the globe, there's no place in the world where there are no challenges. So, we have our own unique challenges. And I think the big issues we're facing across our markets more generally, and much of it occasioned by developments geopolitically and at the global macro level, is inflation is elevated, but in some markets it's beginning to come down. We also have currencies under pressure. The Naira in particular has been under pressure, the last 12 months. But we had always anticipated that in Nigeria, when you get to the point of freely floating the Naira, there would be a period of structural adjustment and pain. That was there for sure, and we understood that. And look, we are going to navigate through this because we still see a very compelling case for sustained investment in Nigeria over the medium to longer term. So there are some near-term, short-term headwinds, and we're going to navigate through these because on the other side is a very good growth opportunity that is actually unparalleled across the continent.
So you're still sticking in Africa, not moving out. This is your home. Now I want to talk about MTN being Africa's largest telcos, and with that comes big responsibilities, right? So what is the company doing in terms of working to improve digitalization and inclusion and just bridging that gap where we don't have enough internet access within the continent?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big things that's happened the last 4 to 5 years actually is that a lot has been done to provide so-called broadband access, i.e. even reaching the rural areas. So if you use 3G as a technology, actually, over 90% of people across our markets have some form of broadband. Now, higher quality, better broadband is 4G, 5G, and we'll get there. So the challenge isn't so much the coverage gap, it's the usage gap. Can people afford the devices that enable them to take advantage of the benefits of the internet? Now, a low-cost, data-capable handset with enough memory, that's going to cost you about $40 to $50. We need to have those devices land in markets probably between $25 and $20. So that's where the pain point really is for digital adoption. So on the path of covering networks, I think that's substantially done. We do need to prepare for the AI revolution that is kind of underway. So there's going to be, big data center build-outs over the next 5 to 10 years that I think you should see. So the investment in digital infrastructure, I think, will be sustained for the next, 10, 15 years plus, just given the opportunity and the under-penetration of digital services across the continent.
Let's talk about the home market. I mean, South Africa has been going through its own domestic challenges. What's investor sentiment like on that front?
Look, South Africa is a very well-developed and advanced market. When we talk about smartphone penetration as a proxy of sophistication of the market, South Africa is pretty much close to 90%. That compares with Nigeria, which is about 52%. So South Africa's market is one that we think will grow at the service revenue end somewhere above kind of inflation. So getting 4 to 6% revenue growth in South Africa is something that we aspire for. We're not quite there yet. So the market is very well developed. I think the big issues in South Africa is really, where does the industry go next? And where the industry go next, in our view, certainly over the medium term, is that consolidation, both on the infrastructure side as well on the services side, seems inevitable to us. And as we look at global developments, we look at Europe, 4 to 3 consolidations happening there. The US, 4 to 3 consolidation has already happened there, because an enormous amount of investment is going to be required to fund this digital agenda. We spend, South Africa, 10 billion rand every year just to make sure that the network has got sufficient headroom. So it's a very capital intensive, and with capital intensive you need to generate returns, and so you're going to have scale. And when you solve back for that, it means consolidation needs to happen in South Africa like it's happening elsewhere across the world.
We definitely are seeing consolidation. I mean, recently, even everything that's been happening with Telkom, that's what we're basically are seeing. I want to talk about the fintech space before I let you go. That is a market you are penetrating really well. What's next in that space, and how are you poising it for future growth?
Look, in fintech, we like to think we're at the beginning of the beginning, We've been the last 10 to 15 years on the journey to build a customer base of about 65 million Africans using our mobile money services. But they're still using very basic services, P2P, cash transfers. The future for us is what we call advanced services, so payments and e-commerce. We look at bank tech, we look at insurtech, we look at remittance. These are the big opportunities that we're arranging ourselves to be well positioned to serve customers, who need these solutions. And as you'll have seen, we announced that we're starting a partnership with MasterCard, and that's really to push that e-commerce, to also push remittance services over the medium term. So fintech for us is a very exciting space, and it's really about driving the financial inclusion and giving the people of this continent dignity, hope and opportunity. That's what that kind of financial services really does, and we're excited about the role we will play.
That was MTN CEO Ralph Mupita.